Think of any actor by name. Chances are you'll think of someone like this, maybe Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, or Mark Ruffalo. Most of the attention given to actors goes towards these A or B-list celebrities giving major lead or supporting performances, as with Gyllenhaal's obsessive sleuth Robert Graysmith in Zodiac. But as these leads move through the story, they inevitably bump into a bunch of other characters like this guy. Who is that guy?
That's the truth.
I think he was in Fight Club, maybe also Devs. That guy is Zach Grenier, who I remember most for his small role as Andy in Deadwood, but who has spent a lot of his career popping up in supporting roles like this one in Zodiac. While the leads might get the majority of the screen time in a film, in many movies they are the minority of the cast. A lot of movies are populated with an entire ensemble of small roles that fill in the texture of the world around the leads. These are often lawyers, other officials, administrators, friends, or siblings to the leads. They might be villains, cronies, assistants, or dates. Sometimes these characters don't even have a name, but sometimes they're a key part of the film.
I'll go get him for you.
Here's a moment from Zodiac. Mark Ruffalo is playing a detective who's been searching relentlessly for the Zodiac killer. In this scene, he's going to finally meet a potential suspect. Now, the role of this suspect in the screenplay is a small one. This character will only be on screen for a few minutes total, yet he's vital to the narrative. As the audience, like the detectives, we're waiting to see the Zodiac killer, so we'll be scrutinizing his face and mannerisms to try to figure out if he's guilty. This performance has to carry a lot, and it's played flawlessly by John Carroll Lynch.
I told him that I'd gone to Salt Point that weekend to skin dive, that I was alone, but I met a couple there. I have their names at home if you want.
Who easily portrays the dramatic ambiguity and menace needed for this role.
I had knives in my car that weekend. Maybe Bill saw them and called the other officer on me,
making his scenes some of the most memorable in the film. John Carroll Lynch and Zach Grenier are both examples of what we might call character actors. These are the performers who don't typically land lead roles, but who have still built a career playing minor supporting characters. And John Carroll Lynch is one of the best to ever do it.
Love you, Margie.
Love you, hon.
He's also well known for his early role as Norm Gunderson in Fargo, where again he leaves an outsized mark on the film with a brief performance.
What are those, night crawlers?
Yeah?
Oh, thanks, Tom.
This time he plays almost the opposite of his role in Zodiac, as the demure and grounded husband to Frances McDormand's Marge. Here again, the role and this performance are integral to the movie. The character's almost innocence is a vital counterbalance to the senseless brutality we're seeing in the rest of the film, and Fargo wouldn't be the same movie or mean the same thing as a movie if it weren't for the energy of that performance. Those are examples of when the role is a pivotal part of the film, but often character actors aren't performing in roles that are mission critical to the movie. And yet, some of the best character actors quickly build reputations for themselves by doing excellent acting even within these limitations. Like, for example, David Dastmalchian. His first credited role left a huge impression on me.
You don't think I will? No. No, I wouldn't.
When I watched The Dark Knight as a teenager, the image of his terrified face was one of the strongest images in the film for me, lingering permanently in my mind. And since that brief appearance, he's shown up in 92 roles in less than 20 years. His memorable face makes him one of the most recognizable that guy actors of our time, but I don't think it's fair to reduce his success or the success of most character actors simply to having a memorable face. This moment wouldn't have been so striking to me if he weren't also a talented actor. Capturing this kind of terror in a performance takes skill, and when an actor delivers on this level for such a small role, it can bring a lot to a film. Character acting, or who is a character actor, can be kind of difficult to define. Sometimes character actor is used to refer to people who play particularly distinctive or unusual minor supporting roles. Maybe someone like Catherine Hunter, who you probably know as this guy's mother in Andor.
Uncle Harlow will know what's best.
But who has recently also played striking characters in Poor Things and The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Look what I have. Show me.
She crafts these incredible one-of-a-kind characters that feel entirely unique to her. There are other actors who could play these roles, but their characters would inevitably feel like something else entirely. But I think this is just an example of particularly good or unique character acting. I think the term character actor still makes sense when applied more broadly to performers who simply specialize in minor roles. These are the roles that are somewhere between a speaking extra and the kind of part that would get a Best Supporting Actor or Actress nomination. Character actors are the folks who have spent most of their career working inside this gap. So that's how I'll be using the term in this video. The line then between who is a character actor and who is a lead can also be blurry. For example, when I think of character actors, Tilda Swinton and Willem Dafoe immediately come to mind because they've done a lot of great character acting throughout their careers, but they've both done enough lead work at this point that I don't think of them primarily as character actors, even though they continue to do excellent character acting. But what about someone like Ann Dowd? She often pops up as a character actor in film, but she's consistently had larger roles in TV. Exactly where the line falls isn't clear, and that's fine. I'm not interested here in figuring out what the label character acting should be applied to. What I'm interested in is bringing some attention to the value and quality of the work that usually gets this label. I think these performers are worth bringing some attention to because character acting is a valuable art on its own. Sometimes these performances are integral to the film, and the actors that fill these roles, even though they often aren't considered A-listers and don't usually show up during awards season, are some of the most talented people working in the industry. I'm not exaggerating when I say I think John Carroll Lynch gives the same quality of performance as someone like Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, or Mark Ruffalo. He's just not the type that usually gets cast as a lead. The best character actors bring the same depth, intensity, and expressiveness that we expect from a lead role to even the most minor parts. And they're usually working under much tighter constraints. So I'm going to take you through why I think character acting is a valuable part of cinema by showing you some of my favorite character actors, and there's no way I'm going to be able to name them all, so I encourage you to shout out your favorites in the comments. When I think back to Call Me By Your Name, usually the first thing that comes to mind is actually the heartfelt presence of Michael Stuhlbarg as Mr. Perlman. Throughout the film, he's mostly at the periphery of the main storyline, but the weight of his performance in a few key scenes feels like it anchors the film's emotional core.
But to make yourself feel nothing, so as not to feel anything. What a waste.
It would be a lesser film without it. Stuhlbarg has occasionally had a bigger role, like his lead performance in A Serious Man, but for most of his career, he's been a consummate character actor, playing roles like this doctor in Blue Jasmine.
Are you feeling more comfortable in the job?
Or a doctor in Doctor Strange, or a doctor in The Shape of Water. He's consistently incredible in these small roles, and sometimes he brings absolute magic, like he does with his performance as Andy Hertzfeld in Steve Jobs.
In 40 minutes?
Fix it.
I can't.
Who's the person who can?
I'm the person who can, and I can't.
Or again in another Luca Guadagnino film, Bones and All.
We're not here to run you out. We thought you might be in need of some beer.
Where Stuhlbarg makes another strong impression with a brief performance, this time delivering not one of the most heartfelt scenes in the film, but one of the most sinister.
So he says, go on back to it. I gotta get a better look at this.
Michael Stuhlbarg has more range than a lot of people who have won Academy Awards, and a great character actor like him can emerge on screen feeling as fully formed as any of the leading roles. Sometimes it's even like they're leading their own film, one which has just briefly intersected with the movie we're watching now. But even when character actors don't steal the scene, they still play an important part of making the world of the film feel real. The hard part of talking about this is really just knowing where to start. There are so many established legendary character actors like Jeffrey Jones, Allison Janney, Richard Kind and Melanie Linsky, people who consistently deliver great work wherever they show up. There are folks like Brad Dourif, who left a distinct impression on me as Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings, but who is also recognized as one of the best in a great ensemble in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What impresses me about Dourif's work specifically is the intensity of the presence of his eyes and the acting he does with them. It's rare to find somebody with a screen presence that feels so intensely piercing. And the range in his performances shows us that it's not just a look that he has. He's using these eyes to create these characters. There are some newer up-and-coming character actors whose work I really enjoy, like Caleb Landry Jones. You probably know him as the creepy brother in Get Out.
It's all about this. It's a strategic game.
But he's also done great work in The Florida Project, Twin Peaks: The Return, and The Dead Don't Die. Hong Chow is also someone who has started popping up more. I first remember seeing her in Showing Up.
Been hoping to find a good tire for this tree for ages.
But she's made recent appearances in minor roles elsewhere. Another great example of a great character acting performance is Martha Kelly in Marriage Story. She performs such a powerful, almost anti-charisma that it's hilarious and awkward and somehow feels outrageous, even though it feels like she's doing barely anything in the performance.
What's a day like for the two of you here?
I asked my patrons who their favorite character actors were, and we came up with too many to list here, but some of the most mentioned were Richard Jenkins, Michael Shannon, Fiona Shaw, John Polito, Merritt Weaver, Stephen Root, Roger Gwenview Smith, and Isaiah Whitlock Jr. We're barely dipping into film history here. There's a whole slew of classic character actors who left a massive mark on film history. Arguably, one of the biggest movies of last year, Wicked, wouldn't exist if it weren't for the impact left by character actor Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch. And there are a lot of great actors who are now A-listers or recognizable for their lead work who started out as character actors. J.K. Simmons, Steve Buscemi, John Malkovich, and Brian Cox are some good examples of this. John Turturro is one of my favorites in this category. He's recently got a lot of recognition for his TV work in shows like The Night Of and Severance, but in my opinion, some of his best work is his early character acting. I could talk about his iconic role as the Jesus in The Big Lebowski, but just as often, I think about his role as Bernie Birnbaum in Miller's Crossing, where he played a character who always felt like he was about to literally slink out of the room.
Okay. The point is, I'm a good guy.
Jeffrey Wright has been an incredible character actor for decades, but it seems like, and I hope with American Fiction, he's finally made a break into leading man status. But probably the greatest example of character actor turned lead in my mind is Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's now remembered mostly for his career-defining roles in The Master or Capote, but for much of his early career, he was an incredible character actor.
That wasn't good! You're dead!
Bringing an incredible range and vibrancy to even the smallest roles. As Scotty in Boogie Nights, he brings this character at the fringes to life with a heartbreaking pathos. At the opposite end of the spectrum, with Brandt in The Big Lebowski, he reveals his comedic chops.
They're not literally his children. They're the little Lebowski urban achievers.
Showing not just his range, but his ability to craft a memorable and hilarious persona through the character's physicality and speech. As Freddy in The Talented Mr. Ripley, he has a perfectly grating charisma, but he was memorable even when he showed up in roles like this unnamed craps gambler in Heart 8. What was truly impressive about Hoffman's character acting was how unique and rich each character felt. And when a character actor is this good, it's usually just a matter of time before they're offered a larger part. And it can be really fun to get to see what a longtime character actor does with more time on screen. That's why last year when David Dalsmashian landed a lead in Late Night with the Devil, I saw a lot of people expressing online just how happy they were to get to finally see him explore a larger role.
I'd like to thank everyone who helped bring this dream to life.
For this to happen, a lot of times it just takes a director with a little imagination, crafting a lead role that actually works with the talent of some of these actors. A great example of this is how longtime character actor Jennifer Coolidge received almost universal acclaim for her leading role in The White Lotus. All it took was for Mike White to see the potential. I love when this happens because it shows that the way character actors are often typecast and boxed into smaller roles, and the conventional limitations on who has the right look or type for a lead role are ultimately fairly arbitrary boundaries created by those who are unwilling to think a little bit outside the box. But we can't really talk about character acting without fully at least acknowledging the dynamic at play here and how it influences who gets to be a lead in Hollywood. Call it a unique look, call it unconventional versus conventionally attractive. However we talk about it, how someone looks has often played a significant role in who gets considered for leads, and beyond that, who's launched into A-list status or stardom. The issues with this are many. First, who decided only attractive people should be leads? I get it, attractive people are nice to look at on screen, but there's nothing about attractive people that makes them inherently better actors or a better fit for many of the stories we tell in film. And second, the standard by which Hollywood measures attractiveness is at best boring and unrealistic, and at worst downright sexist and racist. Sure, there are plenty of people who don't break out of smaller roles because they might not have the chops to deliver the quality we want from a leading performance. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who prefer working as a character actor. Maybe they don't want the pressure, fame, or spotlight that often comes with leading roles. But there are also many truly incredibly talented actors who have been unfairly confined to character acting just because their look is too unconventional for the industry. And honestly, I think these standards are garbage. We'd be better off without them. And all the great movies out there that are led by character actors simply proves this point. On the off chance that any of these people are watching this, I just want to say, if you're out there and you've been putting in the work and you know you're good and you're thinking, what is the deal? Why am I not getting these lead roles? I just want to say, I hope you know this, but it's not you, it's the industry. And I want to say there are some of us out there who see the work you're doing, we appreciate the quality, and thank you for doing it. I know this industry can be a meat grinder, and if you want a breakthrough role, I hope that you get that, but just know that even if you don't, your work is great and it is appreciated. I also want to say, while it's exciting to see character actors break through to leading roles, I don't want to devalue character acting in its own right. It's more than just a proving ground or a stepping stone. It is in and of itself legitimate acting that's very respectable and is a vital part of bringing the movies to life. I think we should value these actors more, not just by giving them a shot at larger roles, but by giving some attention to the value they bring to movies in smaller roles. So let's talk about what makes good character acting. I've never done it myself, so I can't speak from direct experience, but from the outside, in addition to all the things you need to be a good actor normally, it looks like it takes a mix of boldness and finesse. Character actors don't have a lot of time to work with on screen. Their characters don't usually receive character development in the same way leads do. So whatever they need to do to build a character and make them feel real, unique, and fleshed out has to be quickly legible and often done through physical presentation. Often, if there's room for it within the style and tone of a film, bolder choices can really pay off. While some character actors are good wherever they show up, good character acting isn't just the job of the character actor. It also takes screenwriters and directors creating these roles in the first place. Have you ever watched a movie that felt weirdly small or artificial for some hard to pinpoint reason? Sometimes this is because a lack of minor roles. Instead of moving through a world that feels populated with actual people, the characters feel strangely isolated, as if they exist in a world of NPCs. So creating a good character acting role takes a writer and a director who create space for them to exist, and then beyond that, know how to use these minor characters to their fullest potential. And finally, it takes good casting and a character actor to bring that role to life in a memorable way. Instead of treating these roles as stock characters to fill with typecasting, good character acting takes a team of people who treat a minor role as a creative opportunity that can be part of the artistry of the film and help tell the story. Some directors who really excel at this are people like David Fincher. I used Zodiac as an example in the opening of this video, and that movie is wall to wall with great character acting. Kelly Reichardt is another director who I think creates plenty of space for great character actors. There are many others, but maybe nobody has done this as well as the Coen brothers, whose films are littered with incredible, memorable minor characters that are always excellently cast and uniquely performed. I have a whole video about why they're so good at this that you can watch, which I'll link to at the end. At its worst, character acting involves actors getting typecast and slotted into the same stock characters over and over. And some character actors do some great work even within those constraints. But at its best, character acting is a unique art of its own, one that makes the world of the film feel larger than the frame, giving us the sense that each character that steps on screen has a rich life of their own. And sometimes they're a keystone, without which the film would fall apart.
I love you, Margie.
With so many major stories happening every day, navigating the news and staying informed can be exhausting, especially when you take into account that good media literacy involves not just understanding individual stories, but how narratives are shaped by the news as a whole. The best tool I've found for navigating the modern media landscape is Ground News, my sponsor for this video. Ground News is a website and app that doesn't just show you individual news stories, but gives you the tools you need to understand the meta context surrounding each story and how reporting shapes narratives. When I read a story on Ground News, I don't just get the story, I get a breakdown of where that story is coming from. Who are the sources? What are their political biases? What's the factuality rating? And who owns those sources? And I can see an overview of how each story is being presented across the media as a whole. One of my favorite features is the blind spot feed. This shows you stories that are being underreported by either the left or the right. This helps you not just see what your own blind spots are, but it also gives you a clear portrait of how media narratives are shaped through selective reporting. For example, this story about how 25 people were killed after Israeli forces opened fire near aid trucks in Gaza has been highly reported by both the left and the center, but has received barely any coverage from the right. Staying informed to me doesn't just mean understanding the facts of the situation for myself, but understanding the narratives that are being presented across the board. This helps me understand what other people actually believe and why they believe the things they do. You can use Ground News for free, but the Blind Spots feed is a part of the Vantage subscription, which you can get for 40% off when you use my code at ground.news/ThomasFlight. So go to ground.news/ThomasFlight to get 40% off that Vantage subscription and give Ground News a try today. Ground News is one of the best tools I have right now for navigating the media landscape as a whole. Thanks again to Ground News for sponsoring this video.